Hello and welcome to Video Interviews. My name is Zach Hutchinson, and today for episode 3 we are sitting down with Jesse Clark. He is a animator, a visual artist, which actually means everything. He draws, he paints, he makes zines, he does performance. Everyone on Video Interviews, the criteria mostly relates to you being like a Renaissance man or woman, and Jesse totally fits. Hello, Jesse.
Hey.
So, I always like to start talking about where you really started, because everyone on video, we're all really young. I want to only interview like young people, and I think it does count somewhat where you really began. So, when did you sort of decide the career in the arts or the lifestyle of the arts was going to be for you? Like, what time in your life?
Yeah, it definitely happened in high school, because I went to a public high school, but they had a really excellent after-school arts program, and it was like something you had to apply to, and then you got selected to be in, and it was like this close-knit group of people, and I really clicked with them, and I think then I realized that like an art community would be something I really wanted going forward, and I went to art school. So
Where did you start media-wise? Because I feel like a lot of us, we start drawing because, you know, for some reason someone compliments you a lot and you're like, oh, I must be really good at drawing.
Sure.
And then you draw like castles for everybody else in 3rd grade or something like that. Is that how you started out?
Yeah, pretty much. I used to draw cartoon characters and characters from video games, like really obsessively, and my dad had this glass door on his office, and so it was the perfect...
You would use it as like a light box?
No, I would like display my work there.
Oh, so you would, okay.
And they were all really, really small. Like I would draw them like this big, but really detailed in colored pencil, and then I'd like cut them out and like tape them to the glass.
And like what characters? Like Dragon Ball Z?
Like Banjo-Kazooie, Mario, like
mostly video games?
Mostly video games.
Like a big part of your practice is like 3D animation and coding and gaming and stuff like that. So when did that start?
That started in 7th grade. Because I'd been messing around with video game stuff for a while, just with like Flash on the computer. And then I decided I'd try this program called Game Maker, which was totally free. And it had these online communities built around it, and there was one called 64 Digits that I was really invested in, and I would go on there every day. And like you had a blog and a game section on the website, so I'd like write about all my like development updates and publish them for, I don't know, whatever other 7th graders wanted to like read about what games I was making. And through the process of like being on there and learning more about the tools, it gave me like a lot of motivation to make work and have it be seen.
And now, like, I don't know if you're still doing this, but you were like commissioned by the government or something to make a like educational video game or something like that?
Yeah.
How did that go?
Not quite the government, but
it was like something like that, right?
It was like, it's basically just like this company that they got a grant to do like educational software.
Was the grant from the government?
Probably.
Did I put that in myself?
I think you put it in.
Sorry.
It's fine. Whatever. It was just like, yeah, I made this app that will probably be out like next year that 7th graders are going to play to learn synonyms and antonyms.
That's awesome.
But you guys won't. Probably nobody else will play it, which is fine.
I can finally learn my synonyms.
You can.
Cool. And so yeah, that's like where you are now. But then also, I guess and it must be really hard because video games are kind of hard to show people when you're not backed by like a huge company, right?
Yeah.
So like, I've seen the $2 game.
$2 game.
But you have other, like, video games other than that, too, right? That you've made recently and are more of, like, your contemporary work.
Mm-hmm. I have, like, a few games that you can play on my website.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we'll put a link in the video.
Yeah.
But,
we'll probably do, like... have you ever seen on YouTube when people, like, play video games and then record themselves playing the video games and stuff like that?
Yeah, they're, like, really painful.
Yeah,
like,
they're really
let's play
painful,
videos. Yeah.
but they're super popular, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do that for this interview.
Oh my god, that would be amazing.
And I'll have, like, a little, like, box of me in the corner, like, showing my reaction while I play. Yeah, I'll do that. We'll enter that segment now. So this game is called 7th Grade Scandal. Ooh. What's the scandal? I don't know. Oh, it's definitely that all these dudes are in a hot tub together, having the time of their lives, drinking what seems to be alcohol. Look at that puppy go! Little piggy. Past the football and the sad dog into the bedroom. Bushy pillows. And binoculars sneaking on the boys. And here's the locker room / classroom. With some football stuff. So with your video games, and you were making them so early, when did you realize or like feel like they were turning into maybe more art, or even are they supposed to be still art? Are they supposed to be entertaining, or is it a mix of the two? What are your thoughts about like that sort of idea about video games?
Well, most of my games don't have real objectives. There may be like progression, like you move through levels or spaces to experience new things, but it's never you never like score points or have to like kill bad guys. They're kind of like paintings that you would walk through and interact with and experience, or just sort of short vignettes that are just fun to poke around in.
Yeah.
But I think I realized that games are what I was doing was more than just like traditional game making. After I was on that website 64 Digits for a while back in middle school. And I started making games with this one guy online, and I ended up coming out to him over the internet, and it was the first person I ever came out to.
This could be a coming out story YouTube video now, too.
It could. It sure could. But, like, that was the first person I trusted like that, and I think it's because there was, like, that wall of the internet and, like, that safety zone where it's like, if he just stops chatting with me, like, oh well. Like,
and also you're doing a project with him that you probably haven't done. That would maybe like your first collaboration in that sense too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really cool.
And so I think that like foundation, and then we like kept making games for a while, kind of proved to me that they could be like more of a social medium and something to be shared instead of like something I would just experience alone or make alone.
Yeah.
And making a video game alone is a really painful experience. It's incredibly difficult because you like making the sound and the animation, the programming, the levels. It's too much work.
Yeah, and $2 game took like 2 years to make or something like that, right?
Yeah, and you can play it in like 5 minutes. Yeah. They're definitely like a medium I'm sort of gravitating away from in some ways because of the amount of work involved. But I still think it's like something to be created by a community. They're a really powerful form of art in that way.
Yeah, that's interesting too. And I think that relates because like when I started making like video art, I didn't know what it was, but it was more like experiments by myself, and then I just put them online or something like that. And I think that probably relates too, is like one of your first games that you made maybe was more of like, I can do this, I just learned this thing, and I'm going to show people how to do it. But there still isn't an objective, and it's more like a painting at the same time. The video games is something that you're sort of leaving a little bit, but most of your recent work, like, what's the most recent one, the big one that you just made?
I made a 6-minute animation called Limerence.
Limerence. Okay, Limerence, and the video that you submitted to the last VHS video zine, the video dating, was that what it was called? I forget. Just video dating?
Yeah.
Or something like that. So both of those videos still feel a lot like I wrote this down in my phone when I was watching Limerence the other... Is that how you say it, Limerence?
Yeah.
The other night. That the pacing feels like the same sort of claustrophobia that you would get when you're playing like a video game on like PlayStation 1 or like N64, but it also, that sort of claustrophobia that's in those works sort of feels safe, like a safe place to be created too, and but it's also like, you know, it's still like sort of claustrophobic. I've really felt that in the pacing of both of those works, just like the slowness, but then also the reward system. I feel like, especially in Limerence, there's lots of like rewards like there would be in video games.
Definitely.
Like Zelda, when you get a sword or something, like it pops out of the toilet, like
Yeah.
that, like whole emotion and stuff like that. Do you want to expand on that maybe?
Sure. Well, the process of making Limerence and those other movies, I make these virtual spaces in a game engine called Unity, and then I record my screen while I'm running those game spaces, and then edit that footage, and it becomes the final animation. So they literally are video game spaces.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think that that quickness of being able to make something really fast, because they're very simple. If I made like an animation in Maya, it'd be sort of like, there'd be a really high production quality, and it would look much more polished than the animations that I'm making.
Yeah.
But I really thrive on that speed, to be able to like throw a lot of things into one game environment and quickly sort of have an output.
Because I also think another strong thing in your work is that you're really good at like creating the sort of image or the tableau in an image that also sort of relates to how video games work. And also I wanted to talk about that too, is like the aesthetics that you choose sort of have this like kitsch or like they're not like 8-bit or anything, but they're relating to other video games or like modes of looking at stuff, and this certain aesthetic that maybe overarches a lot of your work. Can you talk about that too?
Yeah. Well, I definitely draw influence really heavily from a lot of like Square Enix games. That were made in the 2000s, like the Final Fantasy games.
What specifically? Which ones are you talking about, so that people can know?
Yeah, like Final Fantasy 8.
Final Fantasy 8.
Really good example.
Okay,
or 9. I think 8 has a lot to do with my life. But that working with aesthetics like that, and the sort of reward system that you were talking about earlier, where like a situation gets presented and then something sort of pops up as a solution. All the time. Like every minute there's like a problem and then a solution. Has definitely been like a really productive way for me to work. And like in that movie Limerence, there's all sorts of like strange scenarios that my characters get in. But then a flower will appear, or some strange item will appear, or a portal will just sort of like open up in a wall, and then there's a new possibility, but then another problem comes along, and the cycle just continues like that until the movie's over. And I don't know, I guess I'm really addicted to that format, not only because it gets like an emotional reaction out of myself and the viewer, but because it's a really easy way to sort of like push through ideas, because I can always like present something and then quickly resolve it and keep going in that way.
You know, whenever we talk about like a safe space, which is something that I'm experiencing when I'm playing that, like when I was younger and I would play video games, it would be a way to, not like escapism in the, say, like way that people use it to like drop acid or something like that, but like a different sort of escapism where you can like be totally invested in this and emotionally invested into a story, and also time. Like when you're playing a video game, lots of time goes into that. I forget what my question was. Oh yeah, and so whenever we're talking about queerness, I feel like safe space is something automatically that you assume that you're going to start talking about. Do you feel like that relates to your work too, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think in some ways, because definitely digital space and like that, all the 3D spaces that I make are these places to sort of try on identities and see scenarios unfold that couldn't really happen in real life, or at least happen in a way more fantastical sort of manner. So like in my movies, a lot of the times I'm always present in them, and I'll be dressed up as different characters. So sometimes I'm like like an evil, like Maleficent sort of character in like a black velvet dress, or I'm like a tourist who's like walking through a field of flowers.
Yeah. But
they're all these sort of like fractured identities that I guess you could call queerness, because maybe. I'm queer. I don't know. But there's definitely, a sort of freedom in being able to place yourself in any sort of scenario, in any sort of character. And a lot of the times those turn out really cheesy and strange and kitschy. And I try not to like filter or censor those things and just let them sort of exist in that space. And the space isn't always safe for the characters. Like they also experience turmoil and harm in their worlds, but it's all contained to, you know, some sort of fantasy realm.
Yeah, so. And that happens in real life too, even in our own safe spaces. And I think that too, that it's good that you don't, I like that you're saying that you're not trying to like censor out the kitsch that happens inevitably. And also because kitsch can be a very dangerous hole to go down to, especially for art. You can get lost in the kitsch. Yeah. But I think because, I mean, and I'm not part of this world, but like in video game aesthetic placed art, if that's even a world, the way that you're using kitsch doesn't seem tired or anything either, which is important too, because like, you know, I'm trying to think, and it's even hard because I don't think there's actually that many people that are working in your same process where you're making it on a video game engine and then recording it.
It's interesting because like, yeah, I don't think very many people work in my process, but I think the thing that separates me from a lot of other video game aesthetic is that I really hate nostalgia.
Yeah.
Like I can't fuck with some like 8-bit like NES.
Yeah.
Style thing. I just like think like a video game, and then it comes out weird.
So it just comes. Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to talk about? Things that are coming up, things that we didn't hit on?
Not really, I guess. I've been drawing on clothes a lot recently.
Yeah, because and you're selling them on your website, artandvideogames.com.
Yeah, if you want clothes. Because I realized that I make a lot of drawings, and then they just sit in a drawer.
Yeah.
And that makes me sad. So putting drawings on people's bodies is a lot more fun.
Yeah. How about that? Let's talk about, like, your process in drawing and, like, idea making, and do those turn into drawings and zines, or do those turn into videos, or do they just happen? Like, talk about that process.
Yeah, I've kind of struggled connecting my drawing process with other processes. It feels pretty separate to me. Yeah. None of my drawings ever turn into videos, or even like plans for things like that. Drawing for me it feels really indulgent. Yeah. And I almost like masturbatory. Like I just like sit down and we'll just like draw alone for like 6 hours. Yeah. And then the drawing doesn't even like go to anyone. It'll just like sit in my room or something. So I don't know. But a lot of my drawings have been also focused on the body recently, and like the form as erotic, but also sort of abstract. So I'll be collaging like the body and landscape, or like the body and temples that I'll like architecture and things like that. And a lot of the times they take the form of zines. Yeah. But yeah, rarely do I ever just like make a drawing and like frame it and sell it. It sort of is, it's a process that gets like morphed into bookmaking or...
And do you feel like the videos that you make are more like that kind of art that you're going to like show people? Like because you say that they're very different. How are they different to you?
I guess in format, it's just easier to share videos. Yeah. Because the internet
and maybe people get more excited about like a video that's put on your Facebook page. Well, I think that was something, not that they're more excited. You secure time with them when you're putting it out into the world. I think that that's true for all videos, that you put it out into the world, and someone, to understand what happens, they have to go past the thumbnail. And for, we can look at a painting for 6 seconds that took 4 years to make, and then keep walking. When you're with video that maybe only took 6 seconds to make, you have to stay there for the whole 6 seconds to understand the entire concept.
It's funny because when my drawings become like a zine format, they're just prints, and they can be made in like these large editions and then just handed out. Yeah. And I feel like that's one way to sort of secure time with them, because otherwise I don't really feel like asserting my drawings as something that you need to spend that much time with. I guess I'm not that confident about them or something. But as far as like video work, I do feel like more passionate about them, and I feel like they get more of a response, and that excites me. Yeah. They're also just a lot more lively and less restrained than my drawings.
Is that because painting is dead or something?
I think it's just because videos are so fun.
Videos are really fun.
Painting's not dead, but...
Painting's not dead, but videos are fun.
Yeah.
I like that. You could put that on a shirt.
I should.
So I asked this question last month to Casey Conaway, who is she compared to most? And obviously it was Cindy Sherman. I'm compared to Ryan Carton all the time. Who are you most compared to, you think? I think, and also to preface this question is that as young artists, we're always going to get that one person in every critique that's like, you should look at this person. And we're like, I know that person. Also, my art is like theirs, but not at all. So, yeah, shed some light on that. Make the critiques go a different way if they see this video before.
Yeah, I'm definitely compared to Jacoby Satterwhite the most, which is like really flattering to me. It doesn't even upset me. I'm just like, okay, that's cool. I think because he's a queer artist who's working with 3D animation and his body.
Tell me more about him.
Yeah, he makes videos that he references like objects that his mother made, and like all these plans for like commercial objects that she would make, and then turns them into narratives. And then
I do know who you're talking about.
Like dance through them and like vogue through.
That that is actually a huge compliment. That guy is really awesome.
Yeah. So I'll just take the compliment.
So thank you so much for sitting down with me. Bye.
Bye.